It's time to meet today's specialists. He's the author of the New York Times bestselling book, The Operator, the co-founder of Your Grateful Nation, an organization committed to transitioning special operations veterans into their next successful career. And he's a man who killed the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden. And so he obviously specializes in killing terrorists. Rob O'Neill is here. And she is the director of the Lawfare Project, a legal think tank. She's a former director of the Legal Project at the Middle East Forum. And she's an award-winning documentary filmmaker for her work on The Making of a Martyr. So she specializes in legal and Middle East affairs. Brooke Goldstein is here. All right, Rob, so President Trump ran on, one of the main things was we have to call radical Islamic terror by its name. We can't hesitate. So if you're going to say that, I feel like you also have to say that we have to call out white supremacist violence by its name and not hesitate.
I totally agree. And I also agree with Guy when he said better late than never. But he's kind of getting hit with political correctness and anti-political correctness, because if he doesn't say what it is, the people that are against him are going to totally use it against him. And something like what happened with the KKK or the neo-Nazis, they said online, we're so happy that President Trump is with us. You need to say what it is. You can't be suckered into just if I say all things matter or against all hate, someone's going to hit you for it. You need to be very, very specific. And I think that it's fair, because he was saying that about radical Islamic terrorists. You need to say it with the neo-Nazis, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Of course you should be against all hate, but you have to name when an event occurs, who did it specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trump knows that the media is going to jump on him, whatever he does to criticize him. So why feed them something to criticize? So it's curious that he delayed 48 hours, okay? But he did come out. But remember, during the Obama administration, we were constantly told after every terrorist attack, wait, let's see what the motive is. Let's, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're lone wolf attackers. Maybe they're not. So perhaps the Trump administration wanted to verify who indeed carried out the attack. Now, on the other hand, if we are to have a serious conversation and call hate what it is, the conversation about neo-Nazis and Nazi rhetoric can't just be about the alt-right. I mean, I just flew in from Chicago. The same day that so-called left-wing groups had a protest called the Slut Walk in Chicago, using terminology straight out of David Duke's playbook. The Zionists control foreign policy, the Zionists are evil. So let's have a conversation. Let's call it all by its name, both on the alt-right and on the alt-left.
Yeah, Brooke, I actually take a bit of an issue when you talk about these left protests that were happening in Chicago over the weekend, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not because I necessarily have an issue with you having an issue with them, but in this moment, I personally find that type of back and forth either or in this moment problematic.
I hear what you're saying, but like having been there and being a Zionist female Jew and marching in solidarity with this progressive movement, to be shouted out almost the exact same things that were being shouted out at the Tiki March, but from another perspective. I mean, they were saying,
is that what we're calling that?
Zionists, get out there.
The Tiki March?
Tiki Torch March. I've heard it described with the Torch March. It's the exact same type of hatred. And so if we're going to have a serious conversation looking into what is causing this type of not just anti-Semitic hate, but racist, bigot hate that has, all different manifestations, both on the right, both on the left. Let's talk about it all and not be ashamed about it.
Well, I don't think it's for me about a shame issue, Brooke. I think talking about it all and broadly sounds good in theory, quite frankly, but I think a lot gets lost in the shuffle. I think it becomes very distracting for some, because then they can run wherever you are on the issue to a safe, comfortable space that allows you to deflect the actual issue that's on the table and kind of be comforted by the fact that in this moment now we're talking about, like the anti-Zionist movement or whatever, which is very horrible. I've also been to Israel, so I know what you're talking about, and it's absolutely despicable. But if we're to remain focused around at least this issue in this moment, I think sometimes people get comforted, falsely comforted by those types of arguments.
The protest that I'm talking about happened on the same day as this other protest was happening, at the same exact time. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And what we're saying is, we're giving oxygen. If Trump doesn't come out right away and criticize what happened in Charlottesville, we're giving oxygen to that movement. But we're also giving oxygen to other movements if we refuse to concentrate on them when the news cycle is the exact same story, that we have neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic rhetoric happening in extreme groups. It's the exact same thing.
Well, I do agree with this, Brooke, that this is much more than about Trump's response, President Trump's response to this, right? I think that's certainly where the entire mainstream media news cycle cycle has chosen to focus. And I think that is actually problematic. I think he is the leader of the free world and our commander-in-chief. So what he thinks and how he responds is critically important. But there's, I think, a bigger issue actually at play. So I'm very happy to have that conversation, Brooke.